and this important plaque. And Violet basically does all of our IT and the technology work in the association. I also want to, of course, acknowledge my wife, Yvette Benjamin. I don't know where she is. She's down here somewhere. So we also have an exciting program for you this year. I want to highlight some of the key events taking place and some changes for those of you who have not been in an annual meeting since 2019. We now have 2 scientific sessions this afternoon at 2:30 and 4:30 after this session. The Monday general session, which is titled 150 Years of Public Health History, is now at 8:30 in the morning. So it is like many meetings, it is now the first session of the day. Please go there. And it's not in this room, it's in one of the other ballrooms, so please follow those schedules very carefully. And don't miss this very interesting part of history. Be sure to stay until the end of the meeting if you can, because we have an amazing closing session on Wednesday at 2:30, which kicks off our theme for next year, which is building public health capacity through the ethical lens to address social challenges. Also, don't miss the feature sessions. These are cross-cutting sessions featuring some of the biggest names in public health and our partners. New to the public APHA annual meeting are these coffee talks. These are opportunities for after these sessions for folks to get together and talk about some of the things, an opportunity for really close engagement and quality in Q&A. Check the network and engagement section on the online program to find out more about these informal conversations to discuss the next big thing in public health. And stay around after the featured sessions for the speaker coffee talks. Don't miss America Dissected podcast, which is taping this evening at 6:30 p.m., where our host, Dr. Abdul El Saeed, will interview New York Times journalist Jane Costin. And the Public Health Expo opens right after this session. You can head next door to meet with the exhibiting companies to take part in this event. Also, want to know is some of you know there is a rally for women's reproductive rights after the opening session, and they got their permit, so it's safe to go. So please, if you want to go do that, absolutely go do that. The Leadership Lab, sponsored by Ernst & Young. We have an Emerging Scholar Symposium. We have the Injury Expert Theater, sponsored by Amazon Web Services. We have lots of poster sessions. We have APHA Central, which is where our membership, staff, APA Press, and more are at. And of course, we couldn't have this meeting without some sponsors. So I want to acknowledge our sponsors, and you see them on this stage. Please give our sponsors a great round of applause. Now, this wouldn't be 2022 without social media engagement. So our hashtag is APHA 2022, and we can certainly encourage you to engage one another and talk about public health during this opportunity, and please join the conversation. As many of you know, the next biggest thing we do is National Public Health Week. It will be April 3rd through 9th, 2023, and the theme is Centering and Celebrating Cultures in Health. So please participate in that next year. I now would like to bring greetings from the Honorable Xavier Becerra, the Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services. Please roll the video.
Hello, APHA. I'm Javier Becerra, Secretary of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Dr. Benjamin and members of the American Public Health Association, thank you for including me today, and happy 150th birthday. Public health in America has been through a lot over those 150 years. And for the women and men on the front lines of public health over these last few years, and that means you'd probably add an amen with an exclamation point at the end. COVID, Omicron, monkeypox, the flu, RSV. I'd add polio, Ebola, because remember, public health goes beyond our borders, and AMR, because it's not just viruses, but bacteria too. I could almost hear some of you saying, hey, how about opioids, mental health, hunger, Climate change. I agree. That's a lot of responsibility, a lot of stress, a lot of burnout. But it's also a lot of achievement, a lot of what I grew up knowing as ganas. Don't try to look it up. I'll just tell you, it's guts, grit, and game all wrapped in one. So thank you to APHA, to each and every one of you for your work, for your partnership. 630 million shots in arms of Americans to fight COVID and save lives. Thank you, APHA. 630 million vaccine shots free, no charge. That's public health. Thanks, APHA. More than 300 million Americans who now have health insurance coverage, the most ever in our history. Thank you, APHA. We launched 988, the nationwide lifeline for Americans crying out for mental health support. And it's working. Thank you, APHA. Thank God you are only 150 years young. We need you. Access, inclusion, quality. Our best days are still ahead. So to each and every one of you, thank you, APHA.
It is now my honor to bring to our stage an extraordinary leader, the Executive Director of the Boston Public Health Commission, Dr. Becerra Ojekutu.
Thank you, Dr. Benjamin. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Boston. As Commissioner of Public Health, I am truly honored to be here with you today. I think that it's fitting that we are celebrating the 150th anniversary of the American Public Health Association here, because public health in the United States actually traces its roots back to Boston. Why do I say that? Well, most history books highlight that after taking his historic ride, Paul Revere tackled yellow fever, instituted quarantine for smallpox, and helped establish one of the first, if not the first, public health departments in the country, which is now the Boston Public Health Commission. He subsequently became our first health commissioner in 1799. But there are many other heroes who lived in Boston and laid a foundation for public health who aren't in most history books and should be. Like Onesimus, an African man who introduced the practice of variolation, which laid the foundation for the development of contemporary vaccination and averted one of the largest smallpox outbreaks in our nation's history. Like Dr. Rebecca Lee Crumpler, the first Black woman to earn a medical degree in the United States at what is now the Boston University School of Medicine, who spearheaded efforts to improve health conditions for formerly enslaved individuals, particularly women and children, through the Freedmen's Bureau. And like Dr. Augustus Hinton, the first African-American professor at Harvard Medical School, whose pioneering research changed the way we diagnose and treat syphilis. Dr. Hinton also interestingly highlighted the connection between economic vulnerability and infection well before social determinants of health were routinely discussed. From tobacco control, to traffic injury prevention, to childhood immunization, to the recognition that racism kills, innovations led by pioneers like these and organizations like the American Public Health Association and the hundreds of organizations here today have changed our nation's health. These achievements are a testament to how valuable public health has been throughout history. Last year, in 2021, I was appointed Commissioner of Public Health, and I'm very proud to be the first Black person to permanently hold this position. Granted, it took 222 years, but that's okay. Another door is opened, and I certainly won't be the last. Many of our colleagues across the country have assumed similar public health leadership roles in the midst of crisis. because we not only value what public health has been, we value all that it could be. These last almost 3 years have led to a series of reckonings with issues that we all deeply care about: structural racism, mistrust, unmet mental health issues, and the visible cracks in our fragile public health system. And with reckonings come the potential for change. In order to create that change, we have a whole lot of work to do. We must not only declare racism a public health crisis, we need to actually do something about it. Here in Boston, we declared racism a public health crisis more than 2 years ago, and since then we've worked on changing our health department. And with the help of Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, we recently secured funding to address structural racism in our city. Some of these strategies will be shared during this meeting. We must also tackle mental health as a public health crisis. In Boston, we recently established a Center for Behavioral Health and Wellness and hired our first Chief Behavioral Health Officer. In addition, we must address substance use disorder and homelessness in a humane, public health-oriented way that acknowledges that housing is the first step for many on their journey to recovery. Over the course of the last year, we here in Boston have moved more than 400 people living in our tent encampment, which is really just a few miles from here, from that encampment to low-threshold housing. Many of those individuals have moved on to permanent housing, but many more need our help. We must also lead with data, trust science, and make decisions based on the evidence, not politics. Here in Boston, we required masking in schools much longer than in other cities. And during a late breaker on Wednesday, we'll be presenting why we made that decision, even in the face of significant adversity. Last but not least, we must acknowledge that as a country, we have underappreciated, underinvested in, and woefully underpaid our public health workforce. We must rectify this, and I know that many of you are as committed to doing so as we are here in Boston. In order for any of this to happen, the public health voice, our voice, in this city had to be recentered. That change, that recentering, has taken enormous political will. We are very lucky to have a mayor here in Boston who believes in science, who values public health, and who is actualizing a vision for a healthier, more equitable, anti-racist city. Unfortunately, because of election season, she cannot be with us this morning. But on behalf of Mayor Michelle Wu, I am proud and excited to welcome APHA to Boston to celebrate the work of this outstanding community of public health leaders to improve health and to forge a clearer path towards health equity. Thank you, and once again, welcome to Boston.
Please welcome to the stage APHA President Kay Bender.
Hi. Happy birthday. So I found Violet Homan lurking in the back. And so it's my privilege to be able to actually present her with this flag. So, oh, good, good. Do you want to say something?
I'm so proud to be part of the APHA team for 50 years, and I'm also very grateful and thankful for the greatest leader of the public health science, Dr. Georges Benjamin. I pray to God that we'll continue to bless the American Public Health Association to be one of the leaders in the public health field and continue to be successful as we are. We thank you very much to all our members for continue to be so loyal and continue to be our members for many years. And I enjoy every day that I have worked for the public health, and I really don't feel they have been 50 years. My job with the members and the nation of my job is so exciting that I never think how long I've been working. So again, thank you very much for all these years to our members and to our Executive Director, Dr. Benjamin, and to all my boss, James Carroll, and to all the staff of the American Public Health Association. God bless you all. Thank you.
You did a great job. I cannot imagine how many changes in IT Violet has been engaged with over 50 years. Think about it. Great job. I'm glad we found her back there. So, hi, it's great to see you guys. I cannot believe that my year as president is just about ended. It has been a whirlwind, wonderful year. You know, when I stood before you at the closing session in Denver, I said we have work to do. And based on my background and what I thought was my expertise, the work I thought I had to do was to travel around the country and really support and really engage with our public health workforce and really encourage them, given what you guys have all been through with COVID and other things. What I found instead was this tremendous commitment to public health and tremendous resiliency to their work. And so for that dedication, I say thank you for moving forward, moving ahead, and getting ready for the next challenge. So give yourselves in for that. I'm also just so optimistic about our future. In spite of the complexities that we see and that we face, and I'll talk about those in a minute, the enormous engagement with students and early career professionals gives me optimism that our modernized public health system, whatever that looks like in the next decade, 2 or 3, it will be in good hands with these young people. And so if you're a student or an early career professional, would you just stand? Look, guys, this is great. Thank you. Whew, I feel good about our future. Look at these guys. So, you know, it was kind of interesting as I started thinking about these closing remarks. What do you say? Because it's like a graduation sort of address or a commencement address. Nobody's going to remember it anyway. But we got real enamored when Queen Elizabeth died, right? And all that she had done as a servant leader for her country and around the world. And my inclusion about Queen Elizabeth is not a political statement about monarchy. That's not it at all. But I was impressed with people who described her, talked about a strong commitment to public service, her attention to blending the best of the past while being open to what Britain very often calls modern approaches to as society has changed, and her wisdom in managing complex, difficult, and changing relationships. And so, as I thought about her 75 years as a leader, I thought, wow, APHA's been a leader for 150 years doing those same things. APHA has been and remains a strong and steady leader throughout 150 years. I will tell you, I had a student, God bless him, who asked me if I helped form APHA. I took it as a compliment and said, no, but I would have if I had been in Boston then. We have addressed so many issues APHA has with great success. And through this past year, I've been privileged to interact with so many affiliate sections, caucuses, and individual members who stand strong as our collective public health voices continue to provide a commitment to public health service that ensures our profession will last not only another 150 years, but will last over time. And I am grateful for APHA, its affiliates, its various structural units who represent the boots on the ground for the very complex and comprehensive array of services, programs, policy, and advocacy that we champion. APHA continues to me to also be the best of what a large membership organization can be, while also listening to you, our members, as we think about changing for the future. I've witnessed several examples of collegial exchange of ideas that resulted in the best outcome for whatever the issue was at the time. And I'm eternally grateful for the executive board under the leadership of Hub Rollins as we have discussed many of those issues. It isn't easy for a large, diverse organization to be both a steady anchor and also open to change. But APHA is working to do just that, and for that commitment, I'm also optimistic. One of the best examples of that is the new APHA Your Way, which came about as a result of what you as members said you needed from APHA in order to be better engaged. So if you're not connected with APHA Your Way, I encourage you to check it out. APHA also continues to grow in our navigation of tough political waters. And I've seen that not only in my home state, but all across the country, as we have had conversations just about how tough it is to advocate for our public health issues, our public health principles, in some really tough political times. The greatest disappointment for me this year has been our loss of women's reproductive rights. I encourage you to attend the rally today. I encourage you to listen carefully to our keynote speaker. Because we need to stand together on this and many other important issues. But I know you're going to love, I've been chatting with Loretta Ross backstage, and I know you're going to love hearing from her. I also said last year as I took office that we had work to do. And I've been so impressed with the commitment to health equity and to the various states, local jurisdictions who have come out with racism as a public health issue, but I'm also heartened by those state and local jurisdictions who can't be quite so bold, but are still working on health equity and racial equity, and for that I am very grateful. We still have a lot of work to do in women's reproductive rights, in rural health. We learned a lot about rural health from COVID. We've got some great recommendations from our ISC task force on rural health that we need to look at. We've got a lot of work to do in maternal infant health, mental health, behavioral health, LGBTQ, and as the commissioner mentioned, tons of work to do around our public health workforce. Salaries, recruitment, retention, professional development. There's still LGBTQ issues, just a lot of work still to do. But I know that you are up to that because I've seen you in action this last year. So I leave you with encouragement. I leave you with my greatest admiration. I will always be your champion. And I leave you with this advice for the future. Be strong. Be scientifically accurate. Be kind, and be proud that you're a member of the public health profession and the American Public Health Association. The soul of our profession is alive and well. So happy birthday, APHA, and thank you for this wonderful year that I was able to serve. Thank you, guys. You know, one of the groups I forgot to thank was my own state affiliate, and I see some of them here, and I work for them, so there they are, and so thank you guys for the flexibility to allow me to do this job. They'll do my performance appraisal, so I hope that'll work. I would like to now introduce to you the chair-elect of the Public Health Promotion and Health Education section of APHA, who is celebrating 100 years as a section. And so now I'm pleased to introduce Andrea Portillo Medeiros, chair-elect of the Public Health Promotion Health Education section. Andrea?
APHA members and esteemed public health colleagues and guests. I'm excited to be celebrating APHA's 150th anniversary with you all in person. In my role as section chair-elect this year, I have learned so much about the history of this great organization, as well as the history of its own section, Public Health Education and Health Promotion, which is celebrating its 100th anniversary. Did you know when this section was founded, the original name was the Public Health Education and Publicity section? This section's first activities included hosting symposiums on newspaper publicity to highlight health issues for media attention, a novel idea in 1922. When you read about these early years, you can sense the enthusiasm for this new and innovative section and the value it had to bring to APHA and the field of public health. Since its founding, a lot has changed for the Public Health Education and Health Promotion section. However, our enthusiasm has never changed. In 2022, we have over 4,000 members who are experts in assessing community health needs, designing, implementing, and evaluating health policies and programs grounded in social and behavioral science theories, and disseminating health information through a variety of communication channels. Public health education and health promotion members have been the catalyst for advancing innovative practices and approaches that have been enjoyed by all APHA members. We have offered learning institutes, which have become a standard part of skill building and professional development during the annual meeting. We helped to establish the Education Board in partnership with the Public Health Nursing Section. We initiated the APHA Film Festival, highlighting public health locally, nationally, and globally through feature films and short videos. We have pioneered efforts and partnerships that establish credentialing for the health education and promotion profession. As we reflect on 100 years of accomplishments, public health education and health promotion members are honoring our past by archiving our history to inform the section's future. We have memorialized these stories in an interactive digital timeline and published articles about our contributions to the field in the Nation's Health, AJPH, and Public Health Newswire. Additionally, we are taking lessons learned to create programming designed to develop public health leaders, such as innovation lab pilots, to provide space for public health professionals to imagine and implement creative solutions for entrenched health challenges. To learn more, please visit our section's booth in the Expo Hall or swing by our section social on Monday from 6:30 to 8 p.m. The Public Health Education Health Promotion section looks forward to celebrating the past with all of you this week and forging our collective public health future in decades to come. Thank you and enjoy the 2022 APHA Annual Meeting.
Well, welcome again. You know, APHA was conceived by Dr. Stephen Smith and 6 other like-minded individuals on April the 18th, 1972 in New York City. And like they do in that region, they had their first regular meeting on September 12th, 1872 in New Jersey. And then, of course, we were later incorporated here in the great city of Boston, Massachusetts. And of course, now we're in Washington, D.C. You know, we are the history of public health in the United States and the Americas. Our impact has been extraordinary, having been involved in every single major public policy decision involving health over our many years, from the creation of vital records, the decision to have the National Department of Health, the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, the creation of Medicare and Medicaid when many, many other groups were opposed to it. The original winning of a woman's right to choose. In fact, many of you may not know that we filed an amicus brief as part of the Roe v. Wade original decision and were quoted in that decision. And of course, tragically, we ended up being quoted in the dissent when women lost the right. I can hopefully predict today that we will certainly be involved, engaged, when we reverse that tragic, tragic, tragic decision. Now, I say that because APHA has been the voice of reason to advance the health of the public. Our last 50 years has been most impactful in addressing climate change, expanding additional health coverage through the Affordable Care Act, addressing firearm violence, addressing racism and discrimination, and building public health infrastructure. 100 years ago, we were on the forefront of understanding and responding to the great influenza pandemic, and now 100 years later, we're here to help with the nation protect our population from SARS-CoV-2. We are here to say, and our voice is essential to speak truth to power, to demand the right to vote, to promote science, and to promote our democracy from those who would use disinformation to undermine the health of the public. Today, it is clear that truth matters, facts matter, and character counts. Now, on the anniversary of our 150th birthday, I bring you this celebratory video. Roll the video, please.
When public health challenges arise, APHA has always been there to meet them. From reducing tobacco use and fighting for clean air and water, to strengthening public health infrastructure and supporting the workforce, APHA has championed public health for over 150 years. As we look towards the future, we know we'll face both new threats and opportunities. As a society, we must rebalance our focus from treating diseases to preventing them in the first place. We must address the root causes of chronic diseases and injuries. We must make the healthy choice the easy choice. Health is a fundamental human right. By addressing social determinants of health, we can get to the basis of poor health and build equity. We must restore trust in science as we rebuild and strengthen our overtaxed public health system. We look forward to sustainable investments in public health so that everyone has the opportunity to live their healthiest lives. We must also strengthen our partnerships with communities. By listening to and working with partners in faith, housing, education, business, and more, we can better meet community priorities and growing challenges, such as climate change, an aging population, and workforce and health inequities. An engaged and informed public is the best way to improve our health and become the healthiest nation. As we look towards the next century and a half, let's learn from the past and work together to create a future of equity and greater health for all. Join us at apha.org.
And just to let you know, we are going to have this opening celebration at the North Lobby this evening, so please participate in that. You know, as many of you know, APHA has very long policy on the issue of the health impact of armed conflict. And actually, the Minister of Health from the Ukraine wanted to be here with us tonight. Obviously, he could not be because of the tragedy in his country. So he has sent us a video. It's pretty somber, and it has a real concerning challenge at the end. But having said that, we thought it was important to play this video because we think that public health is global, and until we figure out how to stop killing one another from things that make no sense, we're not going to be able to deal with this. And this is one of our real challenges for the next, not 50 years, not 10 years, but it's our real challenge today. So please roll the video.
Шановні учасники, шановні колеги, для мене велика честь звертатись до вас з нагоди відкриття ювілейної 150-ї щорічної зустрічі Американської асоціації громадського здоров'я. Мені також надзвичайно приємно бачити в програмі цього знакового заходу багато тем і обговорень, присвячених викликам, з якими сьогодні стикається Україна. Для нас це ще один прояв вашої підтримки. Я хочу подякувати уряду Сполучених Штатів Америки та американському народу за неоціненну підтримку України, нашій системі охорони здоров'я та нашим захисникам, які сьогодні стоять на захисті не лише своєї землі, а й свободи у всьому світі. Сьогодні десятки важкопоранених і хворих українців отримують медичну допомогу в кращих клініках Сполучених Штатів Америки. Американські клінічні фахівці, неурядові організації діляться передовим досвідом з українськими спеціалістами та працюють безпосередньо в полях. А гуманітарна медична допомога, що надійшла з Сполучених Штатів Америки, вже давно налічується сотнями тонн. За 9 місяців війни в Україні пошкоджено понад 1000 закладів охорони здоров'я, а 144 повністю зруйновано. 29 медичних працівників було вбито, ще 66 важко поранено при виконанні своїх професійних обов'язків. Сьогодні в Україні лікарі, медсестри, водії швидких такі ж герої, як і наші воїни, рятувальники, енергетики. І вони заслужено удостоюються найвищих державних нагород, хоча деякі з них знаходять своїх героїв вже, на жаль, посмертно. Сьогодні система сконцентрована на критичних видах медичної допомоги, екстреній, хірургічній, лікуванні опіків і травм. Проте разом з тим ми з впевненістю дивимося вперед, відновлюємо пошкоджене, повертаємо деокуповані регіони до життя і плануємо післявоєнне відновлення країни, де життя і здоров'я нації, як і безпека, буде в центрі пріоритетів. Росія не просто веде невиправдану та жорстоку війну. Вона створює умови для справжніх катастроф в сфері громадського здоров'я, які можуть сягати країн далеко за межами України. Це продовольча криза та її використання в торгах Росії. Це радіаційна загроза, спочатку через захоплення Чорнобильської атомної електростанції, а зараз і через постійні провокації на найбільшій атомній електростанції в Європі – Запорізькій. Сьогодні основна стратегія російських окупантів – руйнування енергетичної інфраструктури, теплових розподільчих станцій, гідротехнічних споруд, систем водопостачання. Все це ставить під загрози санітарної катастрофи мільйони громадян і провокує нові хвилі біженців з України. У віддалених проблемах і катастрофічні наслідки для екології, спричинені сотнями тисяч артилерійських снарядів та ракет, які Росія випускає на лінію фронту щодня. Всі ці варварські дії прикриті безкінечною брехнею і пропагандою, яка лунає скрізь, від телевізору до трибуни Організації Об'єднаних Націй. І, на жаль, наші з вами колеги, медичні працівники, фахівці в сфері громадського здоров'я, цивільного захисту, також є частиною цієї огидної брехні, створюючи та підтримуючи просто смішні для будь-якої освіченої людини міфи про біолабораторії, бойових птахів чи комарів, брудні бомби та десятки інших міфів. Цим вони намагаються дискредитувати справу мого і справу всього вашого життя, дискредитувати науку про здоров'я та повернути нас всіх в епоху міфів, забобонів і вигадок, щоб і надалі мати можливість маніпулювати цілими націями. В наших силах не допустити цього. Ми це доводимо щодня. І з такими партнерами та з такою підтримкою всього цивілізованого світу інакше просто не може бути. Шановні колеги, готуючись до виступу перед вами, я подумав, що будучи лікарем громадського здоров'я, я присвятив своє професійне життя в першу чергу профілактичній медицині, збереженню життя і здоров'я людей, захисту населення від епідемії. Донедавна я вважав, що найефективнішим засобом з профілактики в цьому є вакцинація. Але яка ж вакцина захистить український народ від епідемії смерті, каліцтва, насильства і руйнування? Як лікар і як міністр охорони здоров'я ніколи не думав, що скажу це. Але сьогодні найефективніша вакцина для України – це зброя. Саме завдяки наданій вашим народам зброї нашим Збройним силам вдається захистити життя і здоров'я мільйонів українців, а можливо, не тільки українців. Не знаю, як ще можна подякувати за врятовані життя. Але від усього серця я висловлюю вам, усім американцям, нашу щиру вдячність. Ми переможемо. Можете бути в цьому впевнені. Так само можете бути впевнені в тому, що українські медики, українські воїни, усі українці ніколи не забудуть щиро подану дружню руку у найважчий період нашої сучасної історії. Дякую.
A somber thought, obviously, and I just want to point out the fact that obviously we don't promote violence in any form, and that we have a long way to go. This is one of many conflicts in the world. It's the biggest one we're seeing right now. Many of you know the Ethiopian conflict may very well be resolving, at least on pause for now. Hopefully that one will end as well. But there are many, many more conflicts, and I hope that over the next few years that we figure out how to stop killing one another through armed conflict. You know, yeah, thank you. Why don't you just clap to that, because I think we need to work on that. On to our keynote speaker. She is a professor at Smith College in the program for the study of women and gender, where she teaches courses on white supremacy, human rights, and calling in the call-out culture. She was a member of the 2022 class of MacArthur Fellows for her work as an advocate for reproductive justice and human rights. Ms. Ross was the national coordinator for the Sister Song Women of Color Reproductive Justice Collaborative and co-created the theory of reproductive justice. She's a national co-director of the April 25th, 2004 March for Women's Lives in Washington, D.C., and was the largest protest march in U.S. history at its time. She founded the National Center for Human Rights Education in Atlanta, Georgia, launched the Women of Color program for the National Organization for Women, and was a national program director for the National Black Women's Health Project. One of the first African-American women to direct a rape crisis center, Professor Ross was the third executive director of the DC Rape Crisis Center. Colleagues, as we ramp up our battle for ensuring reproductive justice in America, I bring you Professor Loretta Ross.
How y'all doing? You can tell I'm from the South because we don't use you or yins. We say y'all. I'm here to say that public health should not be a controversial issue. It's a hard challenge, but why the hell are so many people angry at us for trying to save their lives? It don't even make no sense. But we keep doing it anyway, right? Because we provide services not because of who they are, but because of who we are. And that's very hard. We know that our democracy is at stake right now. We know that the COVID denial, the vaccine denial, is the cruelty of those people is the point. They don't care. I used to think they didn't know. Now I'm convinced that they know and they don't care. That's a different problem, because we've got these purveyors of hate. We've got to get them out of power where they can do the most harm. And these people mistakenly think that they're fighting us, the human rights movement. But they actually are wrong, because they're fighting forces way beyond their control to dominate. Because they're fighting truth. They're fighting evidence, like science. They're fighting history, like they're going to push us back to the 19th century and nobody notices. But most of all, they're fighting time. Like this crazy group of men can suddenly roll back the clock and defy physics, time, and everything. They are so overmatched, they don't even realize it. They're demographically doomed, which is why they're fighting us so hard. And so, since I know truth, time, evidence, and history is going to kick their asses, that's our winning hand. And my biggest fear right now is that we're going to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory by how we fail to treat each other with kindness, respect, and love. That's how we'll blow it. Because we are the human rights movement. We do believe in the dignity of every human being. We believe everybody deserves their full human rights, their civil rights, their political rights, their economic, social, and cultural rights, their environmental, their sexual, and their developmental rights. And I would argue in the 21st century, we also need to worry about digital human rights as well. We understand the power of the human rights framework in this rise of white supremacy and anti-Semitism and misogyny that's even being practiced on our own side. We understand. But we ain't gonna let them hold us back. So to not snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, I've been spending the last 7 years of my focus not on reproductive justice, which is what everybody always expects me to talk about, but on calling in the calling out culture. Because I am so concerned that many people who think they're doing the right thing are going about it in the wrong way. You know, because we can't. We cannot replicate the master's tools, as Audrey said, and destroy the master's house. It don't work that way. So a few years ago, I created something called the C5 Continuum. Because we all know what calling out is, which is publicly shaming people for something that they've done for which we think they need to be held accountable. And so we use anger, blaming, and shaming as a way of getting that accountability. But the problem is, it doesn't work. Because if somebody calls you out and publicly humiliates you, it is only human to resist. It's only human to fight back. It's only human to deny any harm. So people who think that they're doing the right thing in this woke competition, all they're doing is proving how unwoke they actually are. Because that is not the way you build the power to defeat the opponents of human rights. Now, the ultimate call out is canceling people, where we actually want to not only hold them accountable, but we want to make sure nobody ever listens to them again. We want them to lose a job, lose a platform, lose their reputation. But that's bullshit. I'm here to tell you. That's replicating the very prison industrial complex that we call ourselves criticizing. What do we do when we incarcerate people? We silence them. We don't want to ever hear from them again. We don't want to see them again. And we don't even want to acknowledge our complicity in what they did. That ain't gonna work either. And by the way, if they're rich and powerful enough, they don't get canceled anyway. I mean, wouldn't we all like to cancel somebody who just bought Twitter? I mean, really? He's like, you know, the social media Voldemort or something. Anyway, he doesn't want to spend $44 billion healing the planet. He wants to spend a spaceship to escape it. Really. After I understood the call-out culture, I said, well, what happened if we started calling people in instead of calling people out? And then I mistakenly thought I was original and created something. And it turns out that this 18-year-old trans man named Lone Tran, when he was 18 years old, they invented the concept of calling in because they were tired of what was going on social media among young people. So sometimes you have a great idea and you're not the first, so what else? But what I did do was process all I'd been through, because I'm a rape and incest survivor who learned how to teach black feminist theory to black men who had raped and murdered black women. I'm a survivor of hate violence. I was shot at in Mississippi when I was 10 years old. but I learned how to deprogram white supremacists who had left the Klan and the neo-Nazi movement. So in my head, if I could have all these conversations with a whole lot of people I didn't even like, who the hell are you to get upset because somebody ain't using the latest words that you think they should be using? I mean, give me a break. Matter of fact, it's an aspect of privilege that you can major in the minor stuff. Because if the real stuff was on your ass, you'd be paying attention to that. You know? So calling in is seeking to hold people accountable. But instead of using anger, blaming, and shaming to do it, you're using love and respect, not because of who they are, but because of who you are. Because you want to lead with your integrity. You want to lead with your compassion. You want to lead with your empathy. And understand that people are supposed to have different ideas about things. This is what a democracy is. You know? Because when many different people think many different thoughts and they move in the same direction, that's a movement. But when many different people think one thought and they move in the same direction, that's a cult. And we are not building a human rights cult. So if you're spending all your time trying to put pressure on people to agree with you, go find a cult that may listen. Because the rest of us are going to be about the work of working with other people in the places where they are, rather than talking down to them because they're not in the place we wish they were. You know? Another friend of mine has created the concept of calling on. Calling on is what you use as the fourth C of the continuum when you don't want to make an investment of your time and attention in somebody else, because you just ain't got the time or the desire. So you can call on people to do better. I love my favorite calling on sentence, because I just look them in their eye, kind of like they lost their minds, and I'll say, I beg your pardon. And then I wait. I haven't reacted. I'm not calling them in or out. I'm asking them to rework those words in their brain and come at it a different way. And generally people will, because they're like, oh, that didn't get the reaction I wanted. You're calling on them to align their inner good opinion of themselves with the words that just came out of their mouths and recognize the cognitive dissonance therein. And then the fifth C I don't think we use often enough, and that's calling it off. Calling it off says, I am not going to engage with people who are operating in bad faith, who are lying to me, who are manipulating the process, who are using their victimhood status as a way to harm other people with no accountability. I ain't gonna play that game with you, either in person or online. You can choose not to make the world crueler than it needs to be. That's a choice. And I don't care what's happened to you, because what's happened to you ain't a resume. You know, sometimes you need a therapist instead of a keyboard. You know? And we need to be able to say that to people with love, with respect, but also with accountability. And so I'm going to close by saying, love and respect needs to be our public health strategy, because I believe that calling in will be as important to the human rights movement in the 21st century that nonviolence was to the civil rights movement in the 20th century. Because how we do the work is as important as the work that we do, and is a testament to our character, our love, and our reputation if we choose to call people in instead of calling them out. Thank y'all for listening to me.
Well, that's the start of the party. We've got some other things for you today. Just remind you that things not to miss. So we have the Public Health Expo, which is going to occur right after this opening session. Again, the rally, for those of you who want to participate, is going on there. We've got an incredible the Dissected Podcast Live this afternoon. And of course the party at 7:45 at the, I believe, the north part of the convention center. And then on Monday, we have an amazing general session on 150 years of public health history. I encourage you all to be there. You see these are absolutely incredible speakers to talk about our history. We're also going to give the Freeze Prize for public health at that particular session. And then, of course, the next slide, we have our closing session. I remind you to go to that, which, of course, is Wednesday in the afternoon. So let me just encourage you all to have a wonderful meeting. Happy birthday, APHA. And we look forward to seeing you around the rest of the week. Be safe.